Okay, hey, we connected, yay! All right, I've had a few connection issues. So, let's see, today is video 12, I think, or 13. It's been a lot of videos. And it's all about toe-up socks, right? Because we're into our cuffs and cast-offs. So that's where we are headed, is our cuffs and cast-offs with toe-up socks. And just some things that I need to remind you about. My name is Kelly Slack. I was invited to guest teach by Heather from Pearly Shell Fiber Arts. So thank you, Heather. I'm the co-owner of Black Sheep Fiber Emporium. I have 2 master's degrees in teaching, so I really love teaching. I am the self-published author of 2 books, Hoppy Feet, which is all about socks, and Froth and Foam, which is about lace. So are my 2 passions right now in knitting. What else do I need to tell you? I've made over 100 pairs of socks, so while I don't know everything, I do know a lot. And occasionally I make mistakes, but hey, then we correct it and everything's happy. So let's see, I also need to tell you that my videos are kind of sponsored by Black Sheep Fiber Emporium, Kelly Slack Designs, and Pearly Shell. So make sure that you are giving them a little bit of love for inviting me to come over here. And following anyone that you like on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, whatever floats your boat. We do try to have all the social media available. And if you recall, we have worked our way through our toe-up socks. So we have done the cast-ons, we've done toes, we've talked about... Oh, am I back? I hope I'm back. Can you hear me? I hope so. Just... I told you I've had internet problems this morning. So yeah, now I'm back to talk about cuffs and cast-offs for toe-up socks. And I have my tiny little, uh-oh, hang on. There we go. My yarn got caught. I have my tiny little, like my little toe-up keychain sock almost done. So this is my marker for the beginning of my round is on this side, and that was how I knew. So I made my little toe, and I turned my heel, and I knit my little leg, and now I'm ready to do my cuff. And I just did a little knit 1 purl 1 cuff, just like I did on my top-down socks. So now we can compare my toe-up and my top-down socks. And they look pretty similar, little different techniques, but there we go. Top-down, toe-up, 2 tiny socks. My almost 2-year-old really loves them and tried to steal them this morning, so that was fun. But anyway, we need to talk about casting off. So if you think about your foot right here, so we've worked our way toe up, and we're kind of to this point up here in our calf. Depending on where you have ended your socks, wherever if you happen to like a sock at your ankle or a little bit higher, or maybe you like the mid-calf, it's important that when you go to bind off your socks, that your socks aren't bound off so tightly that you have problems getting that sock up around your calf. So that's a really important thing when you go to bind off your socks, that they're stretchy enough at the top of your calf that they hold, or wherever you've bound them off, but also that you are able to get them over your foot. So there are lots of different ways that you can finish these socks, and of course ribbing is very popular, so that's what I'm doing on my tiny sock, is just a little bit of ribbing. But there's also patterning. So for example, this sock, this is Pushing Up Tulips, has a tulip cable that runs all the way up to the top of the sock, so you could have patterning. Technically this portion right here is the cuff of the sock, right? But it has patterning on it. Another thing you might have might be lace. You could have lace in the top of your sock. So this one, also another toe-up sock, has lace all the way up at the top of the sock. So that's another option for finishing off the cuff of your sock. And there's cables, there's color work, there's all different things that you can do at the top of that sock. And it's no different than any kind of top-down sock. You could have anything there in that cuff. And the difference is that where we wanted to make sure that our cast on wasn't too tight with the top down sock, now we want to make sure that our bind off or our cast off isn't too tight on a toe up sock. So there are some great resources out there. I happen to really like Cast On Bind Off. I know you can't read that, but Cast On Bind Off. And there are some what she calls stretchy bind offs, and those are really nice for the top of a sock. So there's a yarn over bind off, the suspended bind off, the lace bind off, the elastic bind off, the Icelandic bind off, and Jenny's Surprisingly Stretchy. So there are lots of different options for binding off the top of a sock. But one of my favorites is just using a more traditional, slightly looser traditional bind off. And I like to do it in pattern. So that means you knit the knits and you purl the purls and you pass them over each other when I'm using ribbing. So I'm going to just turn my camera down and I will show you how to do that patterned bind off on my tiny keychain sock, because I stopped in time to be able to show you that. So let's turn our camera down. And there you see my deck. And here we have my sock, my tiny sock. Okay. So when it comes to binding off in pattern, I bound off 1 needle's worth, so I bound off 5 stitches, but I still have 15 to do, and I need to grab one more needle. Hang on. Thought I had it out. There we go. And of course this can be, you know, double points or flexible needles or 2 circulars or magic loop, however it is. So I've already started binding off. So this one was a knit stitch here. And now this one's a purl stitch. So I'm going to just purl like normal. And then I'm going to pass my knit stitch over my purl stitch. Fully over my purl stitch, just like this. And then I'll work a knit stitch. And then we'll pass the purl stitch over the knit stitch. And then here's my purl stitch. Sorry, it's probably a little hard to see. Shadows versus light. Knit stitch over the purl stitch. And then knit one, and then purl stitch over the knit stitch. And there we go. So that's just a very simple binding off in pattern where you just do the knits, do the purls, pass them over each other. I've tried to make sure that when I do it that I'm a little looser than normal, so that it's a little stretchier than normal in the top of my sock. Even though this is a keychain sock, it's still good to practice casting off properly. And you can still do this, you know, casting off in pattern with several of those other really stretchy bind offs as well. So this is just good practice to always do this. There we go. And now I just have my 5 little stitches left, so I'm going to purl the next one. And then we pass the slips, pass that stitch over. Here's a knit stitch, just like this. So it's just really important that no matter how tall your socks are, that you are making sure that your cast off or bind off, however you want to think of it, is stretchy enough that you aren't going to have a really, really tight cuff that is impossible to get over your foot. So I'll do that until I can trim it off. So there we go. Nice little cast off. It's cast off in pattern. It allows that ribbing to kind of stretch and not be too binding. And you can see it's knits and purls. So there we go. Casting off or binding off in pattern. This is also really nice to do on mittens and gloves and things of that nature. If you happen to be working top down instead of from the bottom up or the cuff up, however you want to think about that. All right, turn this back around and flip it. Maybe flip it. There we go. Now I'm back. Okay. So when it comes to your toe-up socks, you can do them, of course, 2 at a time, just like anything else. You can knit them on double-pointed needles or magic loop or flexible needles or whatever makes you happy. You can do whatever makes you happy when it comes to socks. And I highly encourage you to try different methods. So if you've never tried a top-down sock, try a top-down sock. If you've never done toe-up, try toe-up. If you've never done the 2 at a time, try it. Try 2 at a time. There's nothing wrong with that. Try different cast-ons, try different bind-offs, and if you find that you don't like them, you never have to do them again, because, you know, you're the one knitting. It's your choice, so you don't have to do that. Okay, so I have a little bit of extra time today, which is awesome. So here's what we can look forward to in the last 3 videos. I will not be here tomorrow. I have things to do, but I will be back Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday this week. We've got 3 videos left in our series. I'm going to show you how to darn your socks on Wednesday. We'll talk about the care and washing of socks on Thursday, and maybe we'll wash some socks together. And then the final video, I want to talk about socks in other ways. So I want to talk about socks that are knit flat, socks that are knit starting at the heel, socks that are knit starting at the side winders. So we'll talk about socks that are made in different ways, not necessarily just toe up or top down in the round. So that's what you can look forward to in the next few days. Sock info. I hope that you've enjoyed the series so far, and I've been trying to keep up with all of the educational stuff that I wanted to share with you while I do everything else that I normally do. So anyway, don't forget that if you have enjoyed this series, you know, we're sponsored by Black Sheep Fiber Emporium, me at Kelly Slack Designs, and Heather at Pearly Shell. So make sure that you go follow them, or us, I should say, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And I do make sure that I put the videos up on the Black Sheep Fiber Emporium YouTube channel. So if you're watching there, thank you for watching us there. And I will be back in 2 days to talk about darning, which is all kinds of fun. I love fixing. Well, I like to darn before it becomes a hole, but we'll talk about that in a couple of days. Thanks.